Hey everybody, Big Red Live. I'm your host Josh, coming to you once again tonight from Appalachian State University. Join with me tonight, these two fine, sharp-dressed men with me are Coach Tom Harper and Coach Tim McMahon. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great.
Very good. We're glad to be here, Josh.
Absolutely. Before we get started, as always, Big Red Live is sponsored by Blue 42, home of the Oh My God Good Chicken Tenders and Countryside Barbecue. For some announcements, we're going to go ahead and get into it on week 3 next Friday, September 5th. We will live stream the week 3 football game between Owen and Patton at Patton High School. We are accepting sponsorships for the game. We have a very affordable sponsorship opportunities available for anyone interested in advertising during the game. Contact us for details on our Tier 1 and Tier 2 sponsorship packages here on Big Red Sports Network, or reach out to us via email at bigredsportsnetworknc@gmail.com. Another announcement, jersey retirements. Friday night at East Burke High School was a great ceremony for Tyler Shatley as his jersey was retired. And congratulations to East Burke High School and Tyler Shatley for the wonderful jersey retirement ceremony Friday night at East Burke. We also extend our sincere appreciation to Tyler's family for the courtesy extended us this past week with him coming on and being on the show, and overall just allowing us to bug him as much as we did last week. We appreciate you, Tyler, for everything you did for us. All right, so talking about week 1 football action, we had quite a bit of interesting games throughout week 1. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, if I can get a second to do that. All right. So here is our week 1 results from
Good
the high
Lord.
school football. You had Newton Con over Alexander Central, 42-21. Bandy's over St. Stephen's, 38-19. Bunker Hill over Drawn, 46-6. East Lincoln over South Iredale, 60-35. Asheville over East Rutherford, 40-36. McDowell over RS Central, 24-21. High Brighton over East Wilkes, 24-21. South Caldwell over West Caldwell, 62-26. Watauga over Ashe County, 56-7. Kings Mountain over Shelby, 30-14. Crest over Burns, 55-14. And Wilkes Central over North Iredale, 34-23. Just some of the notable games from week 1 overall, but we have the overall scoreboard here as present. Coaches, I know you guys keep up with high school football still to this day. Is there any any storylines or any surprising game results that you see from Friday night?
Yeah, I think the things that come to mind listening to your scores, the one thing that came to mind, and Coach Mack may have a different look, but Crest Burns, I would have thought that Burns would have been more competitive. But obviously, according to the scores, they weren't. Uh, don't have the answer for that, but just thought they would have been more competitive against Crest. But Crest obviously must be very good.
Yeah, Crest is coming in this season after appearing in the 4th round of last year's playoffs. They fell at Hickory last year in the 4th round of the playoffs. They returned quite a bit, and they actually reloaded this year. So Crest is definitely going to be one of the top dogs in the 5A division this year. This week 1 result is obviously it's a showcase of how good Crest is going to be in this 5A division. And it just goes to show you the tier of competition that's down in Cleveland County. We all know that down there in
That's a
that
high.
area, there's just a lot of really good football teams.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to see Crest at Wren High School. Uh, Wren's out of Anderson County down in South Carolina. Coach Anthony Freight used to be at Patton as the head coach. Crest pretty much dominated that scrimmage as well. And looking at their athleticism, they look like Crest of old. They're long and they're fast and they're aggressive and they're big up front. They've got a really, really good football team. But, while it is, I think, lopsided score is a little bit surprising. I think Crest might very well be say that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Another team that I want to give some credit to and their coach is Watauga. They just continue to be physical, and they run wing tee to perfection, and they're very simple, but that simplicity really makes them that so good. And it seems like again this year they're going to be rolling until they get in the playoffs, and then we'll see how good really they are.
Absolutely.
I mean, talking
Some
about, I think the biggest surprise for me Friday night was the Kings Mountain Shelby result. Uh, I don't think anybody had that going down. Shelby turning Lane Farmer probably the one or two best quarterbacks in Western State, threw for over 30 touchdowns, 2,700 yards, and 6'3", 220. And Kings Mountain, I was able to see that film, and they just applied pressure all night, and they great night, very well coached. I think that's extremely surprising result. Kings Mountain, of course, I'm sure we're talking about next week's matchup, but it's going to be very intriguing. Sullivan County again with Chris Shelby.
Yeah, one of the scores that I thought was very interesting this week. Obviously, you look at a team like Hickory over the past couple years; they have not lost a regular season football game, especially really early in the season. Hickory goes down to South Point, falls to South Point 27-25, and what was a really good football game. And actually, in that game, Hickory was down double digits, and they gave themselves an opportunity to come back and force overtime. But South Point held their own, kept them out of the end zone, the 2-point conversion, and held on to win. Guys, do y'all have any thoughts on that specific game?
I think that that was a battle of two powerhouses. South Point has always been competitive. I mean, they've got state championships to prove how good they really are. And then Hickory has always been competitive as well. I think that was a battle that was going to come down to the end just like it did. And, you know, Hickory has been talked about being state championship team again this year. One loss is not going to kill them, and it sounds like this was a game that they could have very easily won. So it will be interesting because South Point looks like they're back where they used to be for a long time, and it will be very interesting to see if that continues. But it's a big win for South Point.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup to open the week with. You don't do that kind of offense and in the preseason and even in the regular season. So it was a very tough opener for particularly on the road for Hickory. And they're replacing a lot of players on the side. Anytime you lose a quarterback, as caliber they had and the skill position. So they're breaking in some new offensive players and defense. So I think while it was a loss, it's probably a great tool for Coach Glass, and I'm sure they're going to be fine. Of course, that sets up an interesting matchup Friday, as you well know, Tom. We'll speak to that later with the Alexander Hickory game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be. It will be interesting because, I saw a little bit or kept up with the Alexander Central game versus Newton Conover this week or this past Friday, and they got up 14-0 real quick, and they thought that they were going to be rolling, and Newton Conover has a running back that supposedly is a bona fide great one. And he's only a sophomore. I can't remember his name, but he's really good. And it'll be interesting to see if Alexander Central can come to play against a very good Hickory team. And Hickory, they're going to have some redemption because they got beat first week. So it's going to be an interesting matchup because both of them are in a position where they have to, come out and prove themselves after a tough loss.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you posed there, Coach Harper. Because I think it's always important that in the early part of the season you want to get your wins. But for some programs like Hickory, they love to test themselves by playing some very difficult games out the gate. I expect Friday night between Hickory and Alexander Central to be a pretty decent, like a pretty good game. Alexander Central is usually a fundamentally sound team. They're a grinded out team. So it's really going to come down to Hickory's ability to be able to stop the run and force the pass against Alexander Central. They still got a lot of athleticism out in the secondary. They return a guy named Brett Rowland who led the team in interceptions last year. So they're going to have a lot of playmakers still on this team. And it's a young season. It's a young team, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement here for Hickory. And there's no other play. I'm pretty sure any coach would take an early season loss over a postseason loss at this point.
Oh,
I think you're right.
playing good people are going to be a best way to tell what your deficiencies are and how to improve. Tom could probably speak to this better, but I think that Alexander Hickory game, that it's a sneaky rival game. I don't think a lot of people, the inter-county rivalries are probably more well known, but I think Tom, having been at both schools, will tell you that that's a sneaky rival game, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, the Alexander County people want to beat Hickory just because it's the city of Hickory, and it's a badge of honor to beat a team that has had success. You go back to Dave Elder and winning a state championship back when we were coaching together at Freedom, and it started there, but it also goes back to the coach that was there before Dave Elder. So there's a lot of history of being really good at Hickory, and in any time that you can beat a team like Hickory, it builds confidence. And so we used to call it the Battle of the Bridge, and it is now morphed into a big rivalry, like you said, Coach Mack. And the key will be the athleticism. Can Alexander Central handle the athleticism that Hickory is going to bring? That's the key.
Absolutely. One more thing I want to talk about storyline wise from week one is we had some area coaches get their first program win at the helm of their new prospective programs. Wanted to give a shout out to Daryl Clark at McDowell High School for getting his first victory for the Titans, as well as Chris Henson for getting his first victory for North Lincoln. Also, a new team was introduced to the high school football landscape here in Western North Carolina, with Lincoln Charter claiming their first ever win in their first ever varsity game over Highland Tech 50-6. Wanted to give a shout out to them and Coach Mike Bias, who was a former East Lincoln head coach there at Lincoln Charter.
It's good to have Mike back and coaching in this area.
All right, guys. So I know we talked a little bit about Alexander Central and Hickory. I know you guys also had a chance to look at some other games that are going to be going on this week, specifically throughout the area in the unifour. So what do y'all have on your list as the potential games to look out for this week?
Tell me who's playing East Lincoln again.
Hold on, give me a quick second.
I think it's Providence.
I believe so. I don't have that specific schedule.
I saw the list, and if I'm correct, Providence is playing East Lincoln. I don't know where, but Providence won this past week, 35-0.
Yeah.
Providence has. You don't ever know in Charlotte, but they're usually going to be pretty good, and if they come from Charlotte, and Providence looks like they've got a good team, and East Lincoln's always competitive. So that's going to be, you win a state championship. I think they won the state championship 2 or 3 years ago. They're going to be well coached. So it'll be interesting to see that battle right there. That's the one that really intrigued me.
Yeah, and hold on one quick second.
I think the interesting game was West Caldwell's now has the longest losing streak in the state of North Carolina. Garinger broke that streak Friday, and that promoted West Caldwell to the longest losing streak of 42 games.
What a badge of distinction!
But they're playing Ava County, and that might be an opportunity for them to compete and have a chance to get off that 42 game losing streak. I can't even imagine that. And that'll be a good game to keep an eye on, because I don't want anybody's kids to have to go through that. And No, I'm not saying I'm pulling for West Caldwell, but in a way you'd like to see them get off that 42 game. I think their last win, West Caldwell's last win, was over Patton in the 20 season in the spring. I think that's their last victory.
Yeah, it was. And
Oh, 2020. That's a long time ago.
A long time, brother.
now we look at West Caldwell's team. You know, they were actually very competitive with South Caldwell for the first half before South Caldwell pulled away. This could be an interesting game from the aspects of the athletes that West Caldwell has. Obviously, traveling up the mountain to Avery County this week, but I honestly believe that if there was a week, there was a game on this slate that would be marked as a potential like game of interest. Just because of the stakes alone, I would pick West Caldwell and Avery County because I think this is going to be a really good game between both teams. Avery County, usually one of those big teams, they got big athletes up front, but West Caldwell's also got a lot of speed and athleticism out on the perimeter. So I think that can make for a really good football game.
I'm also interested in seeing the result of Roberson and Watauga. To see the measures stick. I know Watauga had a big win over Ash, but with Ash County, you never know about their athleticism. But T. Roberson is probably going to be a better measure. And Watauga replaced a lot of football players. They got a great program, but they graduated a ton of seniors on both sides of the ball, including the quarterback that kind of dominated the conference for as long as he was out there. And I'm kind of looking at that game to see where Watauga exactly at about to give us a little measures as far as the. I guess they're still calling that the Northwestern Conference, Freedom and those folks. And then the other over there is another Caldwell game, and as always, when you got Harper and South Caldwell matching up, and that's probably the biggest rival game, maybe. Well, we do have Shelby and Crest. That's the biggest rival game, but High Brighton and South Caldwell is always they'll mix it up pretty good over there in Caldwell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be interesting. The other one, when we're talking about teams that have not had a lot of success lately, is the North Iredale at West Iredale. It'll be interesting to see which team is the more competitive and more physical team because somebody's got to win this game, and they're both not real good. So it'll be interesting to see who wins this one.
Well, looking at I wanted to piggyback off what Max said about the TC Roberson Watauga game. One of the scores of interest from week one that we didn't talk about was actually Roberson beating Hunter Huss 14-10. And as we all know, Hunter Huss, from year in, year out, they're always really good. They've always got a lot of athletes, got a lot of speed. So it's like I'm just piggybacking off what Coach Max said. I think it's going to be a really good game here on the mountain this Friday between TC Roberson and Watauga.
So do you have the scores, Josh, from this past week?
Yeah.
Who beat AC Reynolds?
Brevard did. It was 31-7.
That is shocking to me.
That's a little surprising.
Because Brevard, AC Reynolds has always been really good up in the mountains. And I know Brevard has some really good players, tough players, athletic probably this year because you don't beat AC Reynolds 31-7 or 31-14, whatever it was you said, without being really good. So, that'll be interesting to see AC Reynolds at Maiden because Maiden, year in and year out, is very competitive, and it'll be interesting to see who wins that game. Thankfully, Maiden's at home, so they don't travel up the mountain. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, you never want to go into Maiden. Ain't never easy to go in and play now. So
no, sir. That's a great place. What do they call it again, Coach?
Where?
The best little town, best little football town in America.
Yeah, biggest little football town in America. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
And it's true.
That's never easy, and that is interesting. The difference in the score, them losing to Bard's one thing, but losing by 23 points, or 24 points. That's pretty much that's a pretty shocker. Just like the Shelby Kings Mountain result is a shocker. I mean, if you're Shelby, you're sitting there and predicted to have one of the best seasons. You're 0-1, and now you've got Crest coming into your place for your home opener. That's the rival game of the Cleveland County. It is year in and year out, and you could play well and be 0-2 next Friday.
That's exactly right.
Because Crest is that good, but I anticipate seeing a much. I wouldn't say, yeah. I'll just say there'll be a much better Shelby team Friday night if history tells us anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaches, I wanted to ask you an interesting question. Obviously, when we get to these early point games in a year, it's always very warm outside, and conditioning always plays a major role early on in the season. So the biggest question I have for y'all is, how do you keep your athletes in game shape, just during these peak hot time of the year hours and stuff like that? Because one thing you notice on Friday nights is that especially early on in the very beginning of the season, it's noticeable to see athletes wear down as the game goes on. So what do y'all do specifically for conditioning for this specific time of year?
Well, Coach Mike.
I think you obviously are going to have kids doing drills throughout the year, but really that's a different type of condition. Really, the only way to get into football condition is play football. I think it's just kind of goes with the game. You got to play plays to be able to play more plays. I think that's why teams that have more depth and teams that too soon have a bigger advantage earlier in the season as they do over the that advantage kind of decreases throughout the season. Of course, injuries come into play, but it's really you just got to play football. We can run them. I mean, we used to go out and run all the time and try to hydrate them, and we know they're in cardiovascular shape, but there's a different kind of conditioning when you're running plays, and no matter how good a cardiovascular shape you're in, you can still have fatigue set in on you as a football player. The only way to get that play game.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything Coach Mike said, and one of the things that we tried to do is to get a certain amount of plays in a certain amount of time, because we wanted reps. We wanted to get as many reps as we could. I also would talk to our trainer a lot about what they felt like we could do or not do when it came to maybe more conditioning than just foot. But you got to be real careful of that, because you could do too much. It's hard right now to get them in game shape because they've not played in games. So obviously the more reps they get and the more time they get playing games, the better, more conditioning they're going to have, and more they're going to be better at the games.
That's why depth is so important. If you have depth, and that's why you see the low numbers struggling. They'll be competitive for half, second go away. It's just simple fatigue, and when you're fatigued, it builds up, and so it really is. It's almost like it's hard. You just we just need games to get to get in shape. You got to play competitive plays. At practice, you do some of that. You do as much as you can, but even at practice, you're blowing the whistle right before the end, or you're not wanting your best running back to get hit. So it's really tough. And I know they scrimmage some, but and then the weather plays a factor. By the way, I've looked at the weather. I don't know that we can have a better weather forecast for next Friday and the weekend for the end of August. It's just going to be almost feel like the middle of fall around here. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I'm excited.
Absolutely.
The weather.
I mean,
that's good news.
This year compared to the past, the first couple of weeks of the season, I mean, it legitimately feels like fall, even though we're on the tail end of summer. So couldn't ask for any better weather.
Degrees on 78 and being down in the low 60s and high 50s Saturday morning. So we played games in October that have been way warmer than that.
Amen.
So we'll be thankful for and that'll help the kids some. But to answer your question, Josh, I think it's really you can try and you can do things. You just got to play football plays, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always been said that you can never simulate game speed in a practice, and it's just so hard to replicate game speed in a practice.
It's
So,
very difficult. Here's the thing you can't replicate. I don't care how intense your practice is. Those kids have a lot of nervous energy, and you can't recreate nervous energy at a practice.
That's exactly right.
I have been the meanest. I have tried to do that, but it's just not the same as when they're out there on those lights come on, and people don't understand how much energy is used, and that don't even have anything to do with football. It's just getting kids, and particularly inexperienced kids, and that's just the nature of the game. And to get through that, you got to play games. That's why game experience is so important.
yeah.
That's
So,
why Coach Mack and I always tried to have two platooning, because if you are good enough to have numbers and you can have an offense and a defense, then your energy level is going to be so much higher in the second and the fourth quarter, because you've got players playing on defense and players playing on offense, and they're not playing both sides of the ball. Now, that's tough to do. You got to have numbers. But it always paid off for us, didn't it, Coach?
Yeah, it was a big, and you can. Well, there's so many other factors, not just conditioning, but you can. They get good at one thing. They don't have to go try to be a good offensive lineman and be a good defensive lineman. They can just concentrate on one thing, and they have more. You coach them better. I don't mean because we were better coaches, but you got more time with those kids in one area, so it's easier to try to get them to improve.
absolutely. Coaches, appreciate the insight on that stuff because it's always interesting to get the coach's perspective on things because I know for a fact that, a lot of people don't get that kind of insider information or get to see the behind the scenes look. And you guys live that for years behind the scenes. So
Years.
I'm talking about like
AIDS.
You would be correct on the years.
I was going to ask Tom what game are you thinking about going to Friday, Tom?
Well, unfortunately, I am going to be flying out on Thursday morning. My niece is getting married in Denver, Colorado. So I'm going to miss not only football Friday night, but I'm going to miss all those games on Saturday. And
Well,
I am sick of it. And my brother, who lives in Louisiana, he is going to the Clemson LSU game. And he had 2 extra tickets, and I could have gone.
where they playing that game at? The LSU game.
They're playing it at Clemson.
Wow.
I know. I'm missing it for my niece, who I never talked to.
We don't remember the last time me and you went to a Clemson game and what happened.
Oh my gosh! Listen, that might be a story for another time on the Big Red Network.
Absolutely. We're going to need to save that for next time.
It was awful. We will talk about it if you want us to, but I'm telling you right now, it's a story for the time now.
Well, we gotta continue to get things going here. So
I tell you what, if I go, I know you got to go, but if I go to a game, I have to take the food in consideration.
Amen.
And considering the matchup and the availability of Bridges Barbecue, I'm likely to be somewhere near Shelby High School next Friday.
That's a good call.
Absolutely. So,
great call.
Any final thoughts on week 2 so far?
That's the best final thought I got is Bridges Barbecue.
I will tell you this.
It's like you told us one time, Coach. Every good football coach knows a good barbecue spot.
And he's found his.
Well, let me tell you, that's a good
He just told you where it is.
A great coach knows a barbecue spot in every town.
Amen.
A good coach knows a few. A great coach knows where they're all at.
And most coaches know where the best hot dogs are at the stadium where they make them.
Yeah, that's for an emergency.
Tried it before.
That's an emergency in case you didn't get to go to the barbecue joint. Make sure you get a good hot dog at the stadium.
All right, coaches.
But I will tell you this. It will be interesting to see how good these teams that lost rebound this week. You'll really see how much improvement has been made from week 1 to week 2. So a lot of things going on that will show us what kind of coaching is really being done.
I see we're over 30 minutes. He's trying to close the show. You know, it's hard to get us to stop talking, but he wants to
Yeah,
get
absolutely. I'm going to have to start kicking y'all out of the shit. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all for coming in and talking tonight. I'm going to go ahead and close out the show here. But beforehand, got a couple more announcements before we close out. As always, to everybody that's watching, the Week 2 Pick'em poll has been posted to the page. You can participate simply by commenting down below on the Facebook post of the Pick'em polls. We have the list of games. Here, I'll just go ahead and add this to the stage right now. This is the Pick'em poll for this week. We have it posted to our Facebook page. Make sure to go participate. All you have to do is just comment down your picks for this week's games, and we'll have just have that going on Friday. And also, we're going to have to do a quick drawing because we had a three-way tie. We had a three-way tie the other night between three people. We had a tie between Alex Browning, Dwayne Bryant, and John Beam. And so I did something kind of creative here where I'm going to do the drawing on a wheel spinner, which is probably one of the most interesting ways to like do something like that. So
Lee, you talk about excitement.
I know, right? So who's going to be the winner this week? It will be Alex Browning. Alex Browning, you have won.
Congratulations, Alex.
42 Pick'em Poll Challenge for this week. Make sure to reach out to us, and we will get you the prize. All right, as always, everybody, we appreciate y'all for tuning in to Big Red Live, once again, sponsored by Blue 42, home of the Oh My God Good Chicken Tenders. Coach Harper, you got to go to Blue 42 and get you some of them Oh My God Good Chicken Tenders.
I have to, because I want to yell that out when I bite into it. Oh my gosh, these things are delicious.
Absolutely.
Hey, I know I speak for Coach Mack. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We look forward to having y'all on throughout the season. So we're hoping that y'all could go out and see some of these games, provide some insightful stuff throughout the season, and maybe share some coaching experiences as you know, y'all have a lot of stories that need to be shared, and you know, a lot of insightful things just to give the behind the scenes look throughout the season. So we appreciate y'all for taking your time to come out and just, you know, be able to talk football, because, you know, what's better than a bunch of, you know, football fanatics and football coaches talking just the game.
Amen. And I'm hoping that the more we talk about Blue 42, the more that maybe they'll give me some chicken fingers.
always like giving you something.
Amen, brother. I'm all into free.
Oh
But
man.
we can stop coaching. Don't change who you are, does it?
Absolutely.
Amen.
All right,
Thank
everybody.
you.
We appreciate y'all for tuning in this week, and we will catch y'all guys next week for week 3.
See ya.
Love you.
Good boy.